to the Make a Mental Note podcast, where mental health professionals share information and perspectives that illuminate, educate, and is worthy of a mental note. And now your host, Chris Quarto.
Welcome again, mental note takers, to the Make a Mental Note podcast. I'm Chris Quarto. Well, it's finally the end of the week, and it ended on a pretty good note for me. I decided to stop by my son's coffee shop today in Nashville to surprise him, and it was great to see the look on his face when I walked in the door. He wasn't expecting me, but this coffee shop, by the way, is fantastic. It's called the Red Bicycle, and they have 2 locations, and the coffee is so smooth and so flavorful. And then the crepes that they offer, that's their specialty. Crepes, they're just to die for, especially a crepe called the Funky Monkey. If you have never tried the Funky Monkey, you've got to. So take some time, maybe try that. Go there if you live in Nashville and you haven't been there, try it. I mean, I guarantee you'll love it. Before I get to the podcast, I want to give you your mental health tip for today. And this tip, as usual, isn't anything extraordinary, but it's important, and that is take some time to enjoy yourself. You know, I think all of us are busy throughout the course of the week and having so many things going on, and it's easy to lose sight of the fact that we need to do things to enjoy life and enjoy the process of going through life. I had a professor once tell me, Chris, don't forget to enjoy the journey through life and just don't be so focused on some long-term goal. And I thought that was a really good piece of advice. So whether that is taking a bike ride, playing basketball with your kids, putting together puzzles. My wife loves to put together puzzles. I don't, but she does. Whatever it is that suits your fancy, take some time to enjoy yourself. So that's my tip for today. Okay, today's podcast is my interview with Dawn Eaton and Jennifer Drake-Croft of the Family Center in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. The Family Center is an agency. It's been around for quite some time. And they offer parent education classes to parents who've had involvement with the Department of Children's Services and the court system due to child abuse and neglect. And they're doing some amazing things there. And Jennifer, in the interview, she talks about this concept called adverse childhood experiences and talks about how this perpetuates a cycle of abuse and neglect, and I think you'll find it to be fascinating. So without further ado, let's get to the interview. Welcome, everyone, to the Make a Mental Note podcast. I'm your host, Chris Quarto, and today I'm joined by 2 terrific ladies who serve in leadership roles at the Family Center in Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Dawn Eaton is the Chief Executive Officer, and Jennifer Drake-Croft serves as Associate Director. And thanks for joining me today. And Dawn, why don't you start by sharing with the audience what the Family Center is all about and maybe how it got its start?
Chris, the Family Center is all about empowering parents to be better parents and to raise their children to be happy, healthy adults.
Okay.
So the essence of what we do is preventing child abuse and neglect. But at the end of the day, it's really about working with parents and giving them the skills that they might not otherwise have gotten somewhere else in life, and teaching them tools that they might be able to employ and help their children to be both better as kids and more well-adjusted as well as into their adulthood. And we started because we were founded by the Exchange Clubs. That is a civic organization that's a national organization, okay. And their national mission is preventing child abuse. So they founded us 30 years ago. We're almost 31 years old now, and continue to support us. The clubs do. There's probably about 6 to 7 clubs that still support the agency throughout Middle Tennessee.
Okay. You use that word empowering, which I like because that's more of a strength based idea or concept, and I'm sure that really comes across to the families that you work with here at the center. So that's really nice to hear.
It does, and we believe that parents are really the experts, and that we are just trying to help them and empower them, give them information that they might not otherwise have. But we believe the parents are the experts, and we're just there to support them.
Okay, thanks. Well, Jennifer, tell me a little bit about your role here at the center and the types of things that you do.
Yeah, so I'm the associate director at the Family Center, and basically I sort of wear every hat in some ways, but primarily what I do is I set the strategic direction for our programming.
All right.
I do a lot of public awareness, both in written context. I write some of our blog posts and some of our articles, as well as I go into the community and talk about the impact of child maltreatment in a variety of contexts. And I serve on lots of local and state level initiatives that promote child welfare. So that in 75% of what I do, that's what I do.
You're sort of like the face of the Family Center, and you're getting the word out.
Right.
So people know about what you do and services based on not only blog posts and things of that nature, but actually getting out, meeting people, and all those types of things. So so you're a lady of many hats.
Yes.
Well, how do families get involved with the center here? Are they referred by other agencies or the courts, or how does that all work?
Well, a couple of ways. There are referrals. Oftentimes the Department of Children's Services or the courts will make referrals. But we also have a number of partners in the different communities.
Okay.
So we work with the jails in both Davidson County and in Rutherford County.
All right.
And we also work with substance abuse treatment facilities, two of those where women and their children are going through treatment.
Okay.
And as part of their treatment, they come to our classes.
Okay.
And
in Rutherford County, we also partner with Greenhouse Ministries and with the YMCA to provide community-based classes off-site. So for our community-based classes, most of our referrals come from, as Dawn said, Department of Children's Services, from probation officers, from the court, and from other community agencies.
Okay, so the people that you serve here at the center, they're parents of the children. Are there children that come here as well, or is it just the parents?
Right now, it's just the parents.
Okay.
In the future, we hope to be able to add a children's component in the near future.
Okay.
So
all right.
Stay tuned. It's been our goal for 3 years to add a children's component to the adult class, because we know that research says that when kids and their parents are learning these kind of complementary skills, then it leads to better success at home. So we'll definitely keep you in the loop.
And we're actually piloting that program right now in Nashville with the Department of Human Services. So right now, with that pilot program, we actually work with the adults and the children, and then after they've been through the classes, and in that particular program it's 6 weeks of classes, then we move into the home and help them employ the skills that they have learned and work with the child and the family together.
Oh, that's fantastic.
And that's our goal, is to be able to do that with all 1,500 of the clients that we serve in a year.
Yes, imagine if parents could get that level of support all the time, and how much that might even reduce the incidence of child abuse, and if they could get that education as well. And that sounds like that's a big component here of what you do, is to try to do that education. Is part of the services here, I know that parent education is one of the big things that you do here. How about parent counseling, or is that part of it as well?
So right now we only focus on parent education.
All right.
And the large reason for that is because it's one of the top 5 strategies for prevention.
I see.
And so if a parent needs additional counseling or additional services, what we try to do is we try to liaise with other providers in the community to provide that service. Because a lot of times that's just more in depth than what we're exactly looking to do.
Sure. Of the parents that come here for services, I imagine that some of them are really looking forward to the opportunity. I wonder if some of them aren't looking forward to participating, and maybe you can talk a little bit about that.
Well, in actuality, most of the time, it's more that they're not looking forward to it, because oftentimes they're mandated.
Yes.
And anytime you're mandated to do something, sometimes you go in with reservations.
Right.
But what I can tell you is usually within 1 to 2 classes, the attitude and even body language changes completely, because they get so excited about what they're learning. We also really, really, really spend a lot of time and effort in how we teach, in engaging them, and in making them feel welcome, and helping them to understand we're here to help you, that you really know your child. No parent sets out to intentionally harm their children. So oftentimes, things that they're doing, they don't even realize that they're doing. That there are other ways to either change the child's behavior or to help the child in another way.
Yeah, and just to add to that, the center really focuses, our program staff, our number one core competency of anybody who's hired is respect for clients. And the reason for that, I mean, beyond the obvious, is that if we're trying to educate parents and support them, they are not going to be able to make improvement if they feel like somebody's talking at them or not coming from that strength-based, empowering fashion. So we want to get the guard down as soon as possible. And so we do that by really meeting clients where they are, by respecting them, by really engaging them and drawing out their expertise. And as soon as they walk through the door, oftentimes, as you know, the audience can't see our environment, but when you walk into our office, it looks like a home. You know, we make it warm, inviting, like we would want any honored guest to come visit, you know, and we do that intentionally. We want it from everything from the look and feel and the interactions to be delivered with the utmost respect, so that the guard comes down, and that we can move toward true work with the clients.
Right. It kind of goes back to what I was talking about at the beginning, with that empowering, positive attitude, that you have that, you respect them. And I guess that if I were a parent coming in here, that would help kind of lower my defensiveness. If I wasn't really thrilled about having to come here, having people who interact with me in a very respectful way might help lower that, maybe help me be a little bit more receptive to what's being offered or what I'm being taught.
Exactly.
So I guess that's an important part of it too. So, well, now, so they come here, they take these classes. Is there a particular curriculum that's used here as part of those parent education classes?
Yeah, we employ an evidence-based curriculum called Nurturing Parenting.
All right.
But we not only use that evidence-based curriculum, we are informed by the latest research in terms of our the way that we operate.
Right.
And so we employ adult learning theory. We're always bringing in articles for our clients and these sorts of things, so that we make the experience as meaningful and impactful as it can be. So, for example, the curriculum doesn't require that we have master's level staff, but we make sure that we target and only employ master's level staff to deliver this curriculum, because they have a deep knowledge of child development. They've often worked with the population that we're targeting, and they have a deep knowledge of the resources in the community that they can connect our families with. And in addition to that, we engage clients with tactile, sort of experiential learning, with robust and scaffolding discussion, with really engaging YouTube videos, with an engaging presentation. We use the Prezi, so it kind of moves around. So we target different learning styles so that we're not leaving anybody out. That everybody feels really engaged, and like the hour and a half just flies by. And so, you know, those are not things that are required of the curriculum, but we want to produce the best, you know, class experience for our clients. And so we're always informed by lots of different evidence to design and implement that.
You know, there are some parents who probably come here who say, I don't need any of this. And I'm not going to learn anything from you guys. So I know that you said that part of helping them is to use that respectful type of, but are there other ways that you try to get around that defensiveness to really help people be more receptive to what you have to offer?
Yeah, we definitely do a lot of work to reduce stigma.
All right.
And so we definitely come from a place of everybody has something to learn, including our teachers. So our teachers have something to learn from you, you know? And we have this reciprocal interaction so that the client feels like they're bringing something of value to the class as well.
We're not better than you.
We're not better than you.
Right.
That's exactly right. And nobody is, so we really come from the stance of everybody could benefit from a parent education class. Every person who has a child does not know everything that there is to know about child development, or can't learn something from a peer. You know, there's so much to know, and it's the most important job that we'll ever do.
Yeah, what's that old saying that the parent should have a license to be able to be parents?
Right? Yeah, you're not given a handbook on what to do, and every child's different. And so you learn, you know, we're standing shoulder to shoulder with clients, and we're saying, as Dawn said earlier, you're the expert. We have some additional skills and knowledge that can take that expertise to the next level, so to speak. And the people around you can provide empathy and community to help you through this journey. So it's not just about learning some new skills, it's also about learning, it's also about the empathy piece, it's about the support of what it really takes to raise a child, because it really does take a community. It takes a village to raise a child.
What if a parent who was not mandated to come here wanted to come here just for parent education classes? Could they do that?
Absolutely. Anyone's welcome at any time. We have a number of different classes, particularly we call them our community-based classes, and those would be either here at our location in Murfreesboro, or in the Nashville location at our offices, or at the YMCA in Smyrna. So they are absolutely, it's just a matter of a phone call and getting signed up. The cost for the class is very reasonable.
Right.
It's free. That's how reasonable it is.
Really
So I mean, you can't beat that.
That's right.
And so yeah, all they got to do is just make a phone call. We just need to know. It's helpful for us to know in advance who's coming, but they certainly can show up on a Wednesday night before 6 o'clock, or on Monday night in Murfreesboro.
How long do the classes last, just if they come here on a particular night, and then how many times would they have to come, the whole duration?
The classes are an hour and a half,
All right.
and they come for 8 different sessions.
Okay. And that's where that curriculum, Jennifer, that you were talking about is taught as part of those classes that they go through.
Yeah.
Of the parents that you've had, you've probably seen a lot of parents who have really benefited from these classes, and maybe you can think of a parent who's gone through here who's really benefited. Maybe share a little bit with the audience about where they were when they came in here, and where they were when they got to that last class.
Yes. Before I answer your question, can I do a little preface about adverse childhood experiences?
Of course.
Because it plays right into our story.
Okay.
So a lot of our work is driven by a study that was done in the late 90s by Kaiser Permanente and the Centers for Disease Control. And it looked at the dose-like relationship between having childhood adversity, 10 types of childhood adversity, and the development of not only social issues, not only emotional issues, but our chronic and leading diseases. And so there were 5 types of child maltreatment that they looked at, and 5 types of family dysfunction. And family dysfunction looked at things like having a parent who abused substances, or having an incarcerated parent, or even losing a parent to divorce, which is pretty common. And what they found was it was almost like a stair-step-like relationship. The more of these experiences that you had on a scale from 0 to 10, there was a strong relationship between that and the development of disease that really mirrored that stair-step-like relationship. So if you had 4, if you have 4 or more adverse childhood experiences, you're 12 times more likely to attempt suicide.
Wow.
You are, if you have 6 or more adverse childhood experiences, you're 4 times more likely to have heart disease,
Wow.
these sorts of things. And so what the science has conclusively shown us over the last 15 years as researchers have really dug down into the work and why this is that really experiencing childhood adversity gets underneath our skin and compromises our foundation for lifelong health and wellness. And so we really look at everything that we do to prevent child abuse and neglect here and to promote happy, healthy families affects every single organization, every single business in the Middle Tennessee community. Everybody benefits from having a child who's raised to become a healthy, productive adult, basically.
Right.
So with that being said, we could go on another hour about that, but we won't. We do a session around adverse childhood experiences where we talk about the study. We administer the Adverse Childhood Experiences Questionnaire. We have all of our parents take it. And as we've described earlier in the show, most of the parents we serve are very vulnerable.
Sure.
So they are parents who are incarcerated in substance abuse treatment, involved with the legal system, involved with the Department of Children's Services. And they have much higher ACE scores. They're sort of living the outcomes of childhoods riddled with trauma. And so over 70% of our parents have 4 or more ACEs, and over 50% of our parents have 6 or more ACEs.
Wow.
And so that's a key piece of breaking the cycle of abuse, neglect, and family dysfunction, is really coming face to face with what you experienced as a child, and being very motivated to do things differently with your own child, because we often repeat what we know.
Yes.
And so we're going to talk about a gal who took our class here in Rutherford County. She's a young mom, I want to say 20, maybe 21. She had 2 children. And she was still living with her mother, I believe, and I think some extended family members. And she was ordered by the Department of Children's Services to attend our class. And at first she was very resistant because she was, it produces a lot of shame,
Sure.
That you feel like you failed as a parent.
Yes.
But she was met with the respectful and caring relationship developed by our parent educator, who she actually teaches children by day, vulnerable children, and really looks at this as a way to make her day job more fulfilling, is to do this work by night, because she sees that the whole family needs support.
Yes.
These kids, in order for them to succeed in school, need parents who know how to help them thrive. And so she came, and she was not happy and didn't initially want to take this class, but was not met with disregard or disrespect. And within 2 sessions became very engaged in what she was learning, and all of her defenses were down. By about the 5th session, when she was taking the Adverse Childhood Experiences Questionnaire, she had her aha moment. She was learning all of these things, but for the first time, she came face to face with all of the trauma she had experienced as a child and how it affected her today, but more importantly, what she could do to spark resilience, not only in herself and healing in herself, but resilience and healing with her children. And so, inspired by the work that she'd done, and even understanding her ACE score, she went home and started teaching the rest of her family all of the things that she was learning in class. And for every single session, she would go home, take home all the materials, and then teach her entire family the concepts that she learned. Yes,
Isn't that amazing?
It is amazing. So that's a great example of a success story we've had in the community, of somebody coming in really afraid, ashamed, and then leaving our offices feeling empowered to change her whole family.
That's amazing. Well, what we'll do is we will put a link to that study in the show notes. So if anybody wants to go and look at that to get information about it, that they'll have that available to them. So that's a fantastic study. And it's nice to hear that it's probably a typical case where people come in here, like we talked about earlier, not really thrilled about having to come in here to get the services, but really opening up and really benefiting from that in the end, and not only for herself, but for other family members as well. It's so neat to see that. And that's what I like about this podcast, is that we can spread the word about these types of services and really benefit the community. Because there could be parents out there who are not having a good relationship with their kids, perhaps are neglecting them or abusing them. They don't mean to, like I think you were talking about earlier, Dawn, but it's happening. And they're not sure what to do. They don't want to go on with this. They know something has to be done. And so whether it's a step that they take to get the services themselves, or if it's some other way through DCS or some other vehicle that they come in here, it's nice to know that you folks provide this service. It's a positive service for the community, and it's really changing families one by one. It's really nice to see that this is available in our community. Now, I suppose also that there are some parents who have come through here that maybe haven't benefited quite as much as this one parent that you were talking about. Do you have those types of parents every now and then, and what ends up happening to them?
Yeah, it's interesting. 9 times out of 10, we don't see that happen.
All right.
Occasionally, we will have a parent that, for whatever reason, just like in counseling or any other service, they're not ready to receive. They're not ready to make the changes that they need to make. I will tell you that ever since we have started doing the Adverse Childhood Experiences session, that number has gone down. We've seen some very resistant clients really have their guard come down and be more fully engaged in the class. And I think that just like with therapy or any other service, you let them know that they are welcome to come back at any time, and you try to forge that connection, you try to forge that rapport, and to connect them with other resources. But if somebody is simply not ready to engage and make the changes they need to change, all you can do is create a safe place for them to come back to when they are ready.
Sure.
And Chris, I would say that I would guess the numbers are very high. Probably 99% of the people, they're going to walk away with new tools. So, and some benefit more than others, always.
Yep.
But because of the subjects that we teach, it's usually something they can walk away with from every single session. Depending on what your needs are. If you've got a child with behavior problems, our session on positive discipline and alternative forms of discipline, you might take away a little bit more than if you have a child that may not be experiencing that. So I would say that all parents are walking away with at least, I say, new tools in their toolkit, and some will have more than others.
And the information's there for the taking.
It is.
Right? It's there, and it's just part of it, I think, is are they ready to take it and do something with it? And I think that's, but having that attitude, going back to the whole thing about the positive attitude, empowering parents, that's what's really going to help them be ready, I think, more ready and open for those types of changes and things that they can learn here at the family center. So that's what I really love about all of this. So now, Dawn, you had talked a little bit about some directions that the family center was heading in, some strategic directions. Anything else that you want to talk about along those lines? About what's happening here, what's going to be happening in the future?
Well, we're just so excited about the possibility, of that new programming.
Yes.
Everything's connected to funding, so that will be our biggest barrier, if you will. It's certainly more expensive on our part to be able to do the longer term intervention, if you will, the combination of the work in the home as well as the classroom. So it costs more, and that's probably our biggest barrier.
Are you a United Way
We
agency?
are a United Way agency.
So
we actually just
donate.
left a meeting with them, and we are so excited to be partners with United Way. They're a big supporter of ours, and they're very interested in this new level of service that we're going to be providing, because we all know that to make the longer term change, the more that we can interact with the family, chances are that parent has experienced a lifetime of doing, that's how they grew up. And
Yes.
they're, again, like Jennifer said, they're parenting like they were parented. And it takes a long time to be able to change fully, the behavior change that we would like to see. So we're really excited about that. While we know, there is definitely changes occurring in those 8 weeks. We
Yes.
know that we can do even more when we're able to help them practice in the home. Because
right.
you and I both know, even from a classroom perspective, sitting there listening to it is different than doing it. And it's one of the reasons we like to do internships, because you get practical experience.
Yes.
And that's really the same way with this particular program. So we're excited about that. We've got some other ideas out there kind of for the future that we'd love to be able to look at. But that's the one that is the probably the closest to reality.
Yeah, and I think that this is a worthy thing for anybody to contribute to as part of the United Way. They can actually pinpoint an agency that they want to support, and if they really like what they're hearing on the podcast today, and if they want to contribute to the United Way, they can actually target the family center. Is that right? And say, I want my funding to go to this. I know that's that way at MTSU. We have that option of doing that.
They can. We get a set amount of money from them. So unless the donation exceeds the amount of money that we get from United Way, it will not make a difference.
I see.
They can still, you can choose us, but we're already getting money.
Okay.
So it would have to be above and beyond the amount of money that we're getting from them.
Okay. All right. Now, is there any way that a potential parent, or if they're interested in getting services here, how can they contact you? Do you have a website, phone numbers, anything along those lines?
We do. Our website is familycentertn.org,
All right.
or they could call our local office, and I'm drawing a complete blank. I can't remember right.
You can edit that part out
Yeah.
too. It's 615-890-4673.
Very good.
And when you go to our website, there is a clear button on the first page that says sign up for class. It'll take you right to an easy to fill out form. It'll get you registered. We've made the process incredibly streamlined and easy for clients.
And Dawn, I heard you mention just a few minutes ago interns. Are you looking for interns here at this point?
We are always looking for good interns. They have been very, very helpful to us in being able to do some of the projects that we would not be able to do without them. It's great for the intern because they learn so much about families and about working with families and all of the different dynamics. And we give them a broad range of experience here. So yes, we are always looking for good interns and would welcome a phone call from anybody that might be interested. And MTSU is just such a great place. Have to put a plug in for my alma mater.
Sure. Oh, yes. Well, I really appreciate you two joining me here for the podcast. It was really good to learn about all of the things that are being offered here and all the things that are going to be offered in the future, too. It's really exciting to hear some of these possibilities of helping families in the Middle Tennessee area. Both here in Murfreesboro and in the Nashville area, you have those two offices, so it's nice that reach is being extended to both places like that. Well, Dawn and Jennifer, thank you so much for joining me on the Make a Mental Note podcast today, and we'll see you in the future.
Thanks, Chris.
Okay. Well, there is a lot of great information in this interview. And as I think back to all of the things that were discussed, the things that I really appreciated are how Dawn and Jennifer talked about the general approach that all of the professionals at this agency use in working with parents, in particular focusing on strengths, empowerment, and treating parents with respect. And I think that those three elements right there will go a long way in helping these parents develop the skills that they need to develop to be more effective parents. Now, I think that the thing also is that when these parents come here, most of them are mandated. They have to receive these parenting classes. And for some of these parents, they may feel ashamed. They may feel angry. But the fact that they're treated respectfully and that there's something positive that's going to come out of this really makes a difference for these parents in the long run. So it was really neat to hear this. And I think also just the exciting part about all of this is the possibility of adding a counseling component to this. So now counselors can help parents implement the things that they learn in the parenting classes. How exciting is that? So I really look forward to that. I hope that this pilot program that they're doing in Davidson County can actually be fully implemented and become part of what they do here at the Family Center. Well, that's about it for today. You can obtain the show notes for today's podcast episode by visiting my website, chrisquarto.com. And you remember my last name is Quart with an O, QUARTO.com. And I'll have information about the Family Center, their web address, their phone number, and also the link for that article that Jennifer was talking about the Adverse Childhood Experiences Study. That'll be on there as well. So check it out. Make sure that you spread the good word of this Make a Mental Note podcast to your friends, family members, Facebook, Twitter, wherever you can think of. And have a great rest of the day.